Well, boys, we're balls deep into this Honda Civic. And, holy, all I can say is we've already taken a lot of stuff apart. And there is still a lot more stuff to take apart. Inner fender. This was just the start of it, so started from here, worked way this way. This was the last stuff I took apart. Valve cover's loose. I don't know, they say to take the intake off, but I'm pretty sure we can pull it with the intake on. But, holy hell, this here O-ring on this coolant pipe in this housing was just absolutely insane how hard it was to pull off. And, yeah, we're getting closer anyway, still a lot to go. This here is going to be an issue trying to move this turbo. The flange down below is rotted to fuck. And, yeah, not a very fun job, not for the faint of heart, but here we go. So, as you can see, we are deeply involved here in this Honda. And I'm not going to bore you with step by step and what to take apart and how to take apart, but I am going to say, if you're going through coolant, if your heater doesn't work well, especially in a northern climate, southern climate, you may not notice it so bad. Thermostat temperature and your gauge inside the car running a bit low, most likely you got a head gasket issue. So we've been at this thing now, I think it's going on 6 or 7 hours with two guys. And to say the least, they've got some wire connectors in the most absolute ridiculous of places to try to get this harness moved and out of the way for starters. Second of all, to get your head down behind this engine to see some of the bolts that you have to get out is honestly quite absurd too. But we've been picking and choking away at her here. We got the intake off. Got this pile of parts that I showed you earlier in the video. Quite a bit of stuff here laid out on the floor. And we're still really not even that close. We still got to get the side cover off. We still got to get the crank pulley off. That's being an absolute prick. So we've got two different impact guns here. I just brought my brand new one that I just bought. The other one's got a few months onto it, so it don't quite got the snap, but that prick right there does not want to come off. As for everything else, we've got the solenoid out of the head. And things were rolling along pretty good here till we got to this crank pulley. So now we're in a bit of dilemma. I don't have the special tool required to hold it. So hopefully this gun's going to snap it off. If not, we're probably going to have to get the grinder out and manufacture something over there on the bench. But this cylinder head is going to be off this morning come hell or high water. So we are super, super deep here now. Timing cover's off, everything's exposed, cams are locked, spark plugs are out. Next step is to put the crank bolt back in, back roll this, and get this tensioner out of here and out of the way. And get the chain off so we can lift the head. And we also got to take the guides and all the guide plates off, which is a real treat. I mean, for a 4-cylinder motor, this is just an absurd amount of work. Well, cylinder head's off. We had to heat that crank bolt to get it off. There was just no other way. The gun didn't have enough snap and we didn't have the special tool, so the crank seal is actually inside quite a ways, so we never bothered that any at all. And we did end up, when we backed the chain off, the one cam locker broke in the back side, so be real careful when you're locking that tensioner. You got to stick a little pin into it. Where is it? I thought it was here, but anyway. You got to stick a little pin in the tensioner to get it to come off. And then you can take all the guides off and everything. And then take your head bolts out and lift your head off. Definitely a big job. You can see where the head gasket was burnt and leaking inside. Had all the rubberized coating ripped off. Here was real bad, right? And you can see, as other people have stated, they got these stupid grooves in between the cylinders. So I'm actually gonna just flatten them off with JB Weld and get rid of them because it's just a hazard and a problem. There's no need of it. When they sleeve them, it's not there, so that's what we're gonna do. And we're gonna put it back together and keep driving it. So you can see our little drill bit sticking out of the tensioner there for the locker. We didn't actually end up unbolting the tensioner, it's still in the car. But there's the locker right there, the tip of the light. You can see we use a small drill bit. And yeah, parts will be here Monday and back together it goes. There's a look at the cylinder head with over 400,000 kilometers. You can see the burn spots in between the cylinders where the gasket was leaking, but as far as carbon deposits, the valves are clean as clean can be. The exhaust port is clean. I don't know what all the hoax is about these things carbon or not, but this car definitely didn't.